Hey everybody, welcome back to Fun with Fallen Flags. My name is Michael McCarville, and this is episode 41. So what we're going to do is we need to add sand towers to our water tower and our coaling tower that we built. We've got water, we've got coal, and we have little water spigots that we painted up to. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a facility for sand. So this is a Tichy kit. It's kit number 8005. It's called Sand House and Hoist House. So there's actually two buildings in here. So not sure if you guys can see this, but this is the smaller building, and then this is the hoist house. So we're not going to use the hoist house. So those pieces will be used in the future. Somewhere down the road, we'll put it next to a factory or something where we're looking for a little additional structure on it. What we're going to use is we're going to use this building. So I've already glued the four walls together. I mean, it's a really simple structure. And I gave it, after I cleaned the plastic and glued this together, I shot it with a primer gray. And now I'm going to paint this building more of a concrete color, kind of to match the coaling tower. And then this is going to get a lot of heavy duty chalk weathering on it, make it real streaky. It should match the roof on the coaling tower exactly, because that's exactly what I did on that. I painted the double door, single door, and window. I painted that using the same color as on the block tower, and try to keep a consistent color theme. And it was Tamiya AS9 dark green RAF color. So looked pretty close to the Pensy color, so that's what I went with. Plus I had it, which always makes it cheaper. So here's the project. We're going to slap this thing together, but that's where the easy part ends and the real scratch building begins. So this building has this little slot in it right here, right next to the door. So I'm going to use that for the exit for the pipes after the sand has been gone through a strainer and any of the impurities have been taken out of it, smaller size pebbles or anything like that. All of that is going to get filtered, and then this slot is going to have several pipes that come out of it, and they're going to come out and go straight into the ground, and that is going to be relatively simple. And then we need, for each one of those pipes that comes out, we need a sanding tower to sit next to each of the tracks, so that when the steam or diesel engine pulls up, they can pull the hose either down into the steam dome on the steam engine or into the side of the diesel engine, and fill it up with sand so they're ready to make the next run. So they have fuel, water, and sand. Can't leave home without those three. So that's a project. So let's get started. Next step is weather this, paint this and weather this a little bit with concrete, and then we'll start working on the piping and then the sand towers. So the doors and windows are painted, and I put a little bit of grime on these guys, but not much, but a lot more on the doors, in the center of the doors. You can kind of see that they're really kind of filthy around that, and then a little bit around the bottom. And then I took a X-Acto knife and I just did a couple little tiny scrapes off of it. Didn't even break the paint, but just enough to look like there's a little bit of wear on this. The roof, I painted it with the gray primer that I've been using. It's kind of a dark, medium to dark gray primer. And then I put chalk down here. And rather than just repeating some of the stuff that I've already done in other videos, I did this in advance, and we're going to glue this sucker together. So if you remember the coaling tower, all the colors on here and the streaking and stuff, exact same thing here. When this thing's sitting right next to the cooling tower, it's going to look just like it. So this thing actually is a little grimier because I think it's going to sit a little bit closer to the tracks, and this thing goes up a little bit. Just a little spot in the peaks of the roof. In theory, that's where it would be more difficult to see. Hopefully that sets up okay. Let that dry for a second. And then we're going to glue the doors and windows in place. Once we get this building put together, then we got to fashion some piping to come out of it. And the plan is to have several pipes come out and go into the ground with the thought that there's a strainer in here to get some of the material out of the sand, separates the rocks and crap out of the sand, and then once it's just the finer particles are separated, then all of the fine particles are able to be blown through the piping and out into the infrastructure that we're going to use for our sand house, for our sanding towers. I'm sorry. All right, that should be pretty dry. So there's one side, you can see there's a little bit of a warp right here. If you look at it kind of at on line, you can see that it bows down a little bit right here, which I like. So I'm going to kind of glue that in place a little bit too. So the nice thing about these doors is they fit over the building on the outside. So there's a little bit of a flange on here. So it goes into the hole for the door, and then it kind of leans out over. So there's a piece of like trim that goes around the outside. So I don't even think I need to use the glue looper on this thing, but I would if it was going to be flush. You know, two pieces coming straight together. This is easy because all the painting and prep work and filing and stuff are done, so it means we get a little more progress than normally. The one video I did on the hopper, I had to stop because this stuff was was wet. It was literally sopping wet. All right. Put the window in. It doesn't look like there's a distinct, oops, man, if I ever just stop dropping stuff. Doesn't look like there's a distinctive top edge or bottom edge to this thing. Maybe there is, actually. I take it back. There's a really faint windowsill on here. Debating what I want to do with the window as far as glass. So while I think about that, I'm going to glue the both doors in place. And I could probably use the Tamiya cement, but this stuff is industrial strength, and I'm going to just zap the plastic cement on here. One time, be done with it, not worry about it. All right. Okay, so roof's on, glue's drying. Let's hold it up to the camera. Got the double doors on one end and single door on the other end, opening for the piping. And then I've got this guy. So that's what it looks like. And it really is just a piece of acetate with black painted on the back almost completely. And the green matches the rest of the buildings that I've got. All right, so that's our building. Got a window, blackened on the inside. The door. Still haven't decided what I'm going to do with that window, if I'm going to leave it clear or not. Oh, heck. We have the stuff sitting right in front of us. Why don't we just do it? This one doesn't have to sit in a window frame like the other one did. I had to cut exact to fit in there. This one we're just going to put in there. Since acetate doesn't really glue very well, I'm going to use a little bit of Walther's glue on the very top and the bottom of it. So all I'm doing is I'm taking a piece of brass tubing, like so, and putting the piece of brass material in just to get a bend. So I want to make each one a little bit taller. So I'll use this one to compare. Get a good solid bend. So you can see that. So now we're looking like this. There's three of them. That's kind of what I envisioned, so I'm glad it looks like that. Instead of looking like complete crap. Part of me wants to put another bracket on the backside. The sandpipes coming out. There's 5 of those. There's a piece of angle iron on the front. And on the back side, doesn't match exactly, which I kind of like. There's another piece of angle iron, and they're just going to be all strapped together as one bundle. And once this dries, I'm going to glue them in. Let me line this up with the camera a little bit. So the tape piece that's holding the bottom, this just glued together, and the tape is essentially just underneath the line of the bottom of the building itself. We don't want to lay it down that way. Now I'm going to come behind the super glue. I went back and hit it in a couple more spots. I think the super glue probably would do a good job holding it, but I want to be pretty aggressive with the Walther's glue, the more rubbery stuff. The angle irons actually look like they come straight out of the building now because they're flush with the building. When I moved the pipes in, I didn't leave any space between the angle irons here and the wall. So it actually looks like it's strapped in there. So that's the building. And other than maybe a little bit of weathering here and there, which I've already done the roof, that's going to do it. So those are the pipes that are going to go out to the sand lines, to the towers, and there's 5 pipes. So theoretically, I could actually run 3 to towers, 2 to the coaling tower, and it would all be run out of this this basically filtration and sand pump house.